Good day, it's Arno Klaasen here from LifeWise, and today I talk again in our series about the 10 pillars of manhood. And today we are at pillar number 6, and this is all about relationships are your atmosphere. This is an extremely important one because this is all about relationships, it's all about fulfillment, it's all about eventually also about the sexuality and all the sexual problems that we have in our society and that men are battling with. So let's start with this one, that the pillar number 6 is relationships are our atmosphere. You see, we have said that man has got 7 relationships. Relationship with God, with himself, relationship with his wife, extended family, with money, with friends and with the community. And so we can go into that, and I really recommend you to listen to my course on the webpage Relationship Wise. Look to the page on LifeWise called Relationship Wise. I'm very proud of that course because that is what the Lord has given me along many years, and it's working really well. What is relationship really all about? You've got the 7 relationships, the phases of relationship, and all these things that you need to know. People talk about relationship, but they don't know what is relationship. How do you build relationship? You know, in which phase are you in any relationship? You know, where do I need to get to? We don't know this stuff. Relationship has become a very hot topic and word, but we don't know what we are talking about. So often I hear that, you know, we are a church, a relational church. It's beautiful. We're supposed to be a relational church, but what does it mean? When we ask people, they don't know what does it really mean. You know, we have relationships, okay, but what does it mean that we have relationships? What is it all about? We need to know what relationships is all about. So we need to understand that our 7 relationships is only the means and the medium and the channel through which we live life. Remember clearly, relationships are the means, as money is a means in the world and the language of the world. So we have this means in we have this means, namely to communicate with people. We need to have a relationship. We don't live for relationships. We live with relationships. The end goal is not to have relationship, but to have the content of the relationship. The content of the relationship is intimacy, is fulfillment, is satisfaction, is connection, it's love, and all these things that's flowing in the relationship. It's a very important first distinction that you need to make when we talk about relationships. Yes, we need to have the 7 relationships, but just to have 7 relationships does not mean you are successful and that it is a success and that you enjoy it. You can have a marriage relationship, but it is a devastating relationship. We need to have the content of the relationship. We live for the content of the relationship. Yes, we live with the relationship. At the end of the day, as we said, we do not live for relationships, but with relationships unto the content that is in the relationship, namely fulfillment, satisfaction, love, and intimacy, and all these things. Because at the end of the day, we need the thing, you know, we need a bucket for water, but what does it help to have the bucket but with no water? The purpose of the bucket and the means of the bucket is that we can gather the water and we can drink the water as we go along the way. We need the water, we need the life in the relationships. Understand it clearly. Relationships is never our goal in life. It is a means, it is the channel and a medium, but at the end of the goal, the day we live for the goal of having the means, the content, the substance that's in the relationship. Very important, because that is the essence of life at the end of the day. When we look at the man and woman, we see that woman was actually originally part of man, but was taken out. The woman is actually sort of let's say the professional, emotional side of man. And it's also important to understand that basically all relationships are built on emotional. You would think, you know, yes, we need to have the mind and the will that is like the outer layers of relationship, but the deep heart of relationship is emotional satisfaction, emotional fulfillment, emotional intimacy, and all these things. The essence of relationship is vastly emotional. Yes, it's not only the thing in relationship, because we need the guidelines, we need the principles of the mind and the decisions. Yes, absolutely. But the experience of the relationship, hear me clearly, the experience of the relationship lies in the emotional side of man. The experience of relationship lies in the emotional. Just think about it clearly. Therefore, it's all about intimacy, fulfillment, love, and all these things. It is an experience. It's something you feel. And this is where man is battling in his life. He's not having fulfillment in his life. Therefore, he goes into alcohol and drugs and everything. He's looking for things to fulfill him. Why? His fulfillment lies in finding his identity in the heart of God. We've said that's important. You find real satisfaction is a product of finding your identity. Psalm 17 verse 15 says to us that Adam, I awake in your likeness, and I was satisfied when I see you, when I saw myself in your face, in your likeness. Adam only could find fulfillment in finding himself in the face of God. You will only find satisfaction in finding identity. Very important. But in finding the satisfaction, you need to live it, and you need to take it further in life through relationships. And in this whole process, we see a different role of man and woman. Man is, in the end of the day, the head of the home, the leader, the visionary. But the woman is the one that's the help, and the one that helps implement all these things. She's an implementer. The man set the tone and the values, but the woman is the amplifier in the whole process. The man is career driven, but the woman is relationship driven. The man is task driven, but the woman is emotion driven. Therefore, the wife and the woman and in your life has got the big responsibility, especially in the relationship side, to help you to establish it and to bring it to its full fulfillment. But the fact that the woman is much more a relational being, in the sense that she's much more an emotional being and much more effective in relationships, does not say that man does not have his responsibility in relationship. Because man, as the original pattern of God, has got the responsibility to set the tone, to set the values, to set the flow of the relationships in society and in marriage. Man has got that responsibility. Although the women are far more the professional in taking it to its full existence and its full explosion and implementation, man need to set the tone. Man need to take responsibility to bring it into movement. And the man in the house cannot run away from that he's got that responsibility in his life. Because as a man, we need to understand that these relationships are our atmosphere in life. People, we talk about enormous big concepts here. Relationship is our atmosphere. We live in the 7 relationships. Yes, we live with it, but we need the essence and the fulfillment of it that we find in our identity, so that we can give it to other people and let it flow in our lives. At the end of the day, here clearly again, we find in identity, we find fulfillment. Fulfillment is the heart of relationship, that we build relationship and we export this fulfillment and satisfaction through relationships to other people in the family and in society. You see this channel of identity, fulfillment, relationships, society. That is how. That is what man's responsibility is all about. And this forms the atmosphere that we live in. We say the atmosphere of the goldfish is water, but the atmosphere of man is relationships. You cannot live without relationships. And relationships is a dying thing in our society. It's a dying thing. Yes, we cannot live for relationships, but we live with relationships. And you cannot export who you are if there is no relationships. You need relationships to export fulfillment and identification to other people. You need the connection. You need relationships. And not only will the other people die without it, you will also die without it, because man was made to duplicate himself and to reproduce himself and to give and to make other people successful in life. So man is the source of these relationships. Man is the source of life. We need to produce this life and this fulfillment in our relationships in home. And yes, the wife can take it further and bring it to its full focus and in the house, because the wife is actually the pillar of the house, where she's the one that everyone is drinking from, as the Bible tells us. She's the bucket of water in the middle of the house where everyone drinks from. So we need to bring people to a point of maturity in these relationships. That's our role as the man. We need to facilitate, and that's the big word. We need to facilitate the relationships and make sure that the children and what we're doing in our lives and our marriage and families progress unto fulfillment, progress unto satisfaction, progress unto something that is successful in life and that is healthy and has produced maturity. You see, you can put a child in front of the TV and he can see all the things on TV, but that will not make him mature, because the TV is the less relational thing that you have in your home. Yes, it's an enormous stimulating thing, but it is the least relational thing, because there's no communication between us and the television. Therefore, children will not become relationally mature people by sitting before TV, sitting on their cell phones. We need to facilitate the process to make sure that people get enough exposure in relationships so that they can handle relationship, so that they can deal with the failure in relationships, so that they can learn to adapt in relationships, so that they can learn to serve in relationships and not have everything according to their way. And unfortunately today, because we as the men are not facilitating these relationships to make sure that our family goes through all the necessary schools of life to develop maturity in relationships, we see that people become more and more not relational. Their relational capacity decreases year by year. This is enormously important, people. Your success in a relationship lies in the maturity of relationship. It lies in the responsibility level of your relationship. It lies in relational capacity that you can take up in your relationship. Big words that we're talking about here. Relational capacity, relational maturity. And these things are necessary. You need to go through the school of life and having relationships with people to develop it. You see, you can talk about relationships, you can talk about swimming, but there needs to come a day where you jump into the swimming pool and you start to swim and you exercise it yourself. We can talk about relationships where there need to come a day of practical exercise and get into a relationship and start to exercise it and start to develop that capacity, that potential in your life for relationship needs to develop into a skill and into a capacity. It is potential unto skill unto capacity, so that I can deal with any situation in relationships in my life. We are facilitators. As men, we are facilitators of relationship. We are mentors. There is different phases of relationship that you can find in my course, Relationship Wise. It is enormously important that you find out what are these phases in relationship. We are here to handle and facilitate conflict in relationships. We need to understand different personalities in relationship. You can look at my webpage or the page Personality Wise, where you can find everything in personality that brings us conflict and how to handle and deal with this conflict in our lives. We need to establish boundaries in relationships. Certain things are just out. I mean, I've told my children, if the first one that bites another one, there will be severe consequences. And they tried, every one of them, to bite another one, and there were severe consequences. I disciplined them and they never did it again. You see, we need to show people there's certain boundaries in life. You don't violate people. You don't do things with people and just quarrel and explode and whatever and violate people and whatever all these boundaries are that we need to understand that's part of relationship at the end of the day. Let's just close down with the practical implications of all of this in terms of especially the sexual side. You see that the finding of your identity is the clue to fulfillment. The clue to fulfillment is the substance of our relationships. And it is because of a lack of this fulfillment that we are grasping and looking for something else to add to our lives. The 4 G's: gold, girls, glory, and golf. You see, we're running after this: gold, girls, glory, and golf. You know, we're running after all these stuff in life so that we can add from the outside. Man is in essence as a relational being. He needs emotional energy. He needs emotional fuel to run on. Life is drawing amps. You need this fuel. This fuel is called fulfillment and satisfaction. And if you haven't found your fulfillment and satisfaction in your identity, you will reach out to something of this 4 G's that you will try to find your fulfillment in. And that is where things go wrong in life, especially in looking for yourself in money. And we want houses and cars and the sexual stuff and the sport and all these things and my image in life and status and all these things that we try to add from the outside to the inside to make me someone, not realizing that I am already whatever I can desire to be. I just need to find it in the face of my Creator. I only can find it in the face of my Creator. You will wake up in the face of God and then you will be satisfied. When you find your own face in the face of God and realizing that as He is, so am I. I cannot become anything in life. I am already everything. I just can be what I am. I just need to be what I am. It's very important. You just need to be what you are. And because of this, we have this big problem in sexual problems and all these things where people try to find fulfillment in the sexual because they're running low on energy. They're running low on and high on amps and low on energy, low on emotional input in their lives because they haven't found, number one, the source of their feeding through the Holy Spirit in the eyes of the beholder, the eyes of the Creator. And therefore you need to make a decent study of the word of righteousness. Go and look on my web pages. The word of righteousness is a word of the gospel of the kingdom that reveals who you became in Christ Jesus at the cross and resurrection. The gospel is not a plan of salvation. The gospel is a revelation of your salvation. It's a revelation of your identity that you need to embrace, and then you will experience salvation. You will experience the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. The gospel is in essence a revelation of the identity of mankind that enables them and gives them permission to enter into the presence of God so that they can get into a relationship with God and so that they can eventually go to heaven. But we enter in this relationship, we take the assurance policy, but we never get to the purpose of that relationship, and that is to find myself in the eyes of God. And the moment you are fulfilled in yourself, you will not be tempted to reach out your hand to all these G's to draw it to your life so that you can become fulfilled, because God has given you fulfillment. You just need to open it up. But to open it up, you need to find your identity. And that's the biggest key in people to have good relationships, is to be fulfilled in themselves and to have something to give to someone else. And to be exercised and to have, because we have this potential for all our relationships, we need to step out and get skilled in it and get knowledge and the principles and exercise in it so that it can become, at the end of the day, relational capacity in our lives, where we can step out as men and we can be the relational facilitators, and we've got the capacity, and we can set the tone, we can put down the values, we can put down the boundaries, and at the end of the day, we experience a success in our own lives, in our marriages, in our families, extended families, and all over. Thank you very much.